So Rabbi is quoting from the Frierdiker Rebbe and talking about the two different, contrasting kinds of Chassidim, the Chassid, the Pnimi and the Makif. No, I don't mean a Chitzonius person, God forbid, but Makivdik. He describes, so remember that Moishe Velenka was the quintessential Pnimi. Imagine just spends 3 years preparing for Yechidus of the Alter Rebbe, 3 years, not 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, and 7 years to bring the Yechidus and the Pnimius. I wonder whether he had any Yechidus in the interim, perhaps not. He was working on this one. There'll be Kusil Lepler, as he was affectionately known as Kushel Lepler. Just a word about him. Kushel Lepler was born of a person of average intelligence, or perhaps he was a wealthy fellow. He was a salt merchant. We once told his story here. And when the Chassidim of the Mittel Rebbe, who were instructed by the Mittel Rebbe, wherever they went and came to Chazach Chassidus, and they were young fellas, and they were saying, he was envious of them, didn't understand what they were saying, they were explaining me. And then he was set on the path of Avodah and literally expanded his mind. He became a big masker, a deep, deep thinker. It literally expanded by the dint of his will, the parameters, both breadth and depth of his natural IQ. So we say he was a makiv dikechosed. We don't mean by any stretch external. Deep, deep avodah, and he fasted and prayed. Maybe she should help him. The description is awesome of how he transformed himself from a simple fella to a profound intellectual. That who used to consult with him in Haskalah, one of the Rebbeim, not mistaken, discussed with him in Yonim. So here, let's look at the description of your Kusil Lepler. So he was a completely different tipus. How do you say tipus in English? A type, different type. Unlike Rav Moishe, which is Moishe the godless, that's how the Alter Rebbe described him. Rav Moishe Velenkat, Moishe the godless. He was a Bal Midas, emotional fellow. So the story goes about him coming close to the Alter Rebbe, his Kiruv, when he heard when he heard the first time Chazorah of a Maim of the Alter Rebbe, and that's the first time he was introduced to Chassidus. Someone was saying a Maim of the Alter Rebbe. He was so spoiled, he just picked up immediately. He went to the Alter Rebbe. He heard this, he ran. And he was ready to go into Yechidus right away. As soon as he arrives, the Rebbe, guide me. So he came, the story continues. So he comes to Liozna, I guess it was Liozna, and the elder Chassidim tried to tell him, you don't go into the Alter Rebbe, just waltz in. Rebbe, help me, he's here. You need hachana. But Rabbi Kushel Lepler's heart was on fire like a furnace, and he wouldn't hear from them. So when they didn't let him go into Yechidus, he climbed up the pipe of the outside wall and crawled through the window into Alter Rebbe's room, and he said the famous words to the Rebbe, Talker, uproot, I've got the Lashon use, uproot. Oishaken. Hakarois for me, the left side, the Yetzer Hara.
Hacker up the linker side.
Arop, or whatever, Arois, Arop, yeah, okay. Now Rebbe answered him. He didn't tell him, hello, what are you doing here? Just come back in a few months or weeks. Didn't say that to him. This was his avodah. Now Rebbe told him like this. Like he turned to the Eibishter, the Bernei Shalom, Master of the universe. And you enliven all of them. And that was the end of it. And Kusha said, with this, the Alter Rebbe was a mamshich within him, chayus, life force. He came out of Yechidus. I think there's more to it. I don't remember now. It escapes me a little more. The Alter Rebbe said, and you give life to all of them. B'simcha gedola. It could be rumors over here is you're asking Hakalish the Yitzhara. Maybe this Machai the Yitzhara also. He has his place. It's part of the Avodah. Could be this was intimated here, but that there was more. Then you write, concluding this, the description here. So the Frierdiker Rebbe concludes and writes that Taka the Alter Rebbe was mamshech in Imchayis, but this was in response from his cry, which was in a way of makif, and the Chayis was also makif. But Rabbi Moishe's Achona was 3 years, and Yechidus therefore was also different. And his answer, the Alter Rebbe's answers to him was different. Tomorrow we'll continue with their differences. Rabbi's point here is, I can see basically saying that it's like someone said the other day, was saying to me, I can tell you, conclude with that. Binyamin shared it with me, I can share it with you. Binyamin Zilberstrom was telling me that as a Bach in 770, he once asked Sholem Barozov, and Sholem Barozov was the Mashgiach, Mashpia, one of Chani Morozov's sons. He was completely of a different order. I mean, he was a Goan Olam in Boki, not just in all printed Chassidus and Nigla, Shas, but in Kisvei Arizal. Everything Pashit. And Chakir, I mean, we give a Goan Olam, not from this world. I mean, the Rebbe danced with him before. It was before the Nesius, right after Simchas Torah. On his hand, on his shoulder, Shalom. Look at his face, you saw right away. His Fabrengens were, didn't take mashke. And Fabreng rarely. Akaponim, but he was the mashpia, answering questions, very accessible. So he says, Ben Yomis, he once asked him, there's different kind of chassidim. The Mendel was very gregarious. Then there's other chassidim were much more internal and like Reb Nissen. I don't know if he said Reb Nissen, but opposite of Reb Nissen Nemenov, opposite of Reb Mendel, kind of asking what should be the path. So he heard him. He says to him, kind of do what you have to do, like be you. What that result's going to be. They the telephone, but telephone is if to say to be what you need to be. Don't pick I'm going to be like this. You're going to be like this. And whatever it's going to end be, it'll be. So Rabbi is illustrating here, I guess for the purposes of appreciating, need to appreciate that there's not one type of chassid. It's extremely individualistic. He paints the two extremes here, Rabbi Moishe and the Kusha Lepler. I guess that's his point here. We'll continue the descriptions, which are inspiring in their own right. Okay, a wonderful day. Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.